today's video, we're going to talk about what to do when you don't know what to do. Now, this sounds very silly, and you might think, well, I don't know how to do it. But here's the deal. We talk to kids all the time about being able to use your resources and figure out how to do things when you don't know how to do them. And not only that, but when you get to that point in something, I don't know what to do, well, what do we do now to figure it out? We talk to kids about this, and I'll talk to you about it just for a minute, but let's just use the example and say that you are, getting more into your child's education and you're sitting down with them and doing homework, or they're coming to you and they're going, hey, I don't know how to do, I don't understand this reading passage, or I don't know what it might be. Just remember this, okay? We know it's been a long time since you have been in school, all right, especially in the 7th or 8th grade like our kids are. So we know that. We know we don't expect you to be like math geniuses all the time and all that stuff. All right, so here's a couple steps to help you to figure out what to do when you or they don't know what to do. All right, number one, have the kid explain to you what they know. All right, here's the deal. If we send work home with them, we have already went over that work with them. We've talked to them about it, and what they're doing at home should be an extension of the learning that they did that day in school. So if they have it to work on, we really hope that by that point they have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. Now, here's what happens in the human and the kid's brain is they do that during first period class, and then they have second period and the third period, and then lunch, and then PE, and then they're on the bus, and then they get off the bus and they play video games, and then they came home. So there's a long gap of time in between when they learn that and when they're actually doing the work. So when they sit down to do the work, their brain might tell them, oh my God, I don't know this, what is this? But be chill, it's all good, because they do know it. So step number one, ask them to explain to you what it is they're doing and get them to begin to think about that. So if they're sitting down and they have to look at a reading passage and answer some questions about the passage, and it may be about the author's point of view or something, this is an example, have them explain to you what they did in class today. And what happens is their brain begins to think back. All right, it's like almost like it opens back up the file from English class and starts thinking through, well, we did this and this and this. And then what happens is their brain starts making those connections again, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. All right, and there's a good possibility that just by having them think back to it, that they're going to remind themselves how to do it, and they don't even need your help anymore, all right? But let's just say they don't. You say, tell me what you did in class today, and you begin to think about it. Now, this will also help you to begin to think back about when you were in school, or just use your grown-up common sense to be able to help them with this a little bit more, okay? They'll start giving you the puzzle pieces, and then you can just start helping put the puzzle together and to get the answer that you need. Now, step number two. If you don't know what to do and you're both kind of lost and you've been through step number one, you hear people say this all the time, Google it. That's not an exaggeration. I really do mean that. There are millions and millions of resources online that can help you pretty much learn anything that you need to learn in today's world, okay? Especially school stuff, because there's so many people that do have questions and need help understanding things. So look it up. If your kid is working on, let's go to math for a second, and they're working on one-step equations, okay? If you go to Google and you just type in one-step equations, now lots and lots of resources are going to pop up for you, all right? There's going to be an explanation probably. One thing to look at when you look on this is, first of all, kind of get to know a few names of some very popular things. Like we all know Wikipedia. Wikipedia can be a great source, but it's also what they call open source, which means that anybody can really edit it. Okay, so start to get to know some reliable sources. If it's math, I want you to remember Khan Academy. That's the first thing that pops up here, and this says one-step equation, and then it tells you what it is. Now when you click on it, it's going to give you a full explanation from Khan Academy, which is a very, very reliable source on how to solve one-step equations. And look at this, guys. It breaks it down step by step and explains what you're doing, okay? Now, let me push a pause button here. I want to catch you for a second, and I want you to remember this. As you, the parent, begin to go through this process of helping your child to understand this, it's so important that you talk through the process or the steps with them. Don't just give them the answer, okay? We want them to begin to use their brain and be thinking about, how do I do this? Because that's going to help them not just solve that problem, but solve all the problems, okay? And maybe if it's not even in math, let's say they have a science or social studies and they are looking ancient Greece, all right? And they have to answer some questions about ancient Greece. You type it in, and like I said, there's going to be thousands of resources on it. Now, let's look specifically at, say they want to have to look at the leaders of ancient Greece. So be very specific about what you type in, leaders of ancient Greece, all right? And there's going to be some great resources that pop up for you just like that, all right? If you are a visual person, click on the videos and start looking down through here. Look, Ancient History Encyclopedia, it's Ancient Greece Government, 3 leaders in ancient Greece. You know, just remember that all the videos made on YouTube, it can be made by anybody. So it may be made by a teacher, it might be made by a student, or it could be made by some crazy person that has no idea what they're talking about. So just use your common sense. If you click on a video, like let's click on this one for example. Okay, this one is from
Leader
this.
number 1, Queen Gorgo of Sparta.
Sorry, looks like a pretty reputable thing. There are quite a few. Well, maybe not. That one's got 755 views. So that's what I said. That's kind of where you got to look at it and think. So then we go back and let's look at this first one. It actually takes you to a website that has the built-in video on it. So if you do use YouTube or whatever you use online, just warning, you never know what you're going to get. Just kind of be smart about how you use it and as far as how you use Google. All right, step number 3. So you've had the kids explain to you what they know about the subject, and you try to put together that way. It didn't quite work. You got on Google, you looked it up, you really don't know, and you kind of don't really know what you were looking for, and you're still kind of lost and confused. Step number 3 is to call a friend or email the teacher. Okay, it's always a good idea to email or call or reach somebody that may know. Say, hey, we're needing some help. We are working on a physics project in science class, and it's not going great. You'll help us out a little bit. If somebody knows, that's great. Or email the teacher and say, listen, you know, this isn't going very well. We don't understand this. Can you help explain it a little bit more? There's a good possibility the teachers won't answer because it's probably later at night when you're working on it. But what that does know, lets the teacher know that you guys are in the process and you're working on it. So it's not like they just didn't do their homework. It's that we tried to do the homework and we were a little bit confused on it. All right. So reach out, make those connections. And last but not least, here is step number 4. If you've been through steps 1, 2, and 3, step number 4 is this. Do the best you can. Answer all the questions that you can, and don't do the rest. Okay? Teachers are great about you come in the next day and you go, listen, we tried really hard. I only got 7 out of the 10 problems right, or I was only able to answer 2 questions, or I answered 1 question, but I don't think it's right. Okay? As long as you see, as teachers see that we're putting forth some effort and trying to do those things, they're going to work with them, guys. Teachers aren't going to go, I'm sorry, you failed because you didn't do all the questions. We don't do that, all right? I promise you, we're going to help take care of the kids. What we love to see is that they put forth that effort and they're making an attempt to learn, all right? And it's even better when we see that the parents that'll help them out a little bit. We will work with them, and I promise you, we'll help them learn. If you guys need anything, always reach out to the school. Feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email, and you can do this because you are an important part of your kid's life and they need you.